Manchester has had a huge regeneration process behind it over the past 20 years.
Yeah.
It's unrecognisable now, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you think about from early 2000s to now.
Yeah, it's the pace of change is I think it's phenomenal. It's just grown and it's snowballed. So it's, the pace of growth now is probably greater than it's ever been in the past as well. So.
My name is Nik Nagarkar and you are locked into Culture TV. For the culture, by the culture. Let's go.
Tim, thanks so much for coming down, mate.
Thanks for having me along.
How you doing?
Very good. Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What have you been up to?
God, it's been a busy start to the year in a good way.
Yeah.
Lots going on.
Yeah.
And a big variety. I like that though. I can't say no to stuff, so that's my thing. I can't say no to new ideas and I think busy people attract other busy people.
Yeah.
So,
and attract more busyness.
Yeah, I think they do.
Yeah.
I know you're the same. So that's one of those things. But I like that. I like that variety.
So for the sake of our listeners who might not know a bit about your background, could you just sort of give me a little brief insight into exactly what it is that you do and sort of how you've got into this sort of position that you are currently in today?
Yeah. So I'm a property developer, but we refer to ourselves as social impact property developers. So anything we do has to have a positive social impact, be it creating super energy efficient buildings or banning buy-to-let investors or restoring conservation buildings.
Banning buy-to-let investors?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we ban the buy-to-let investors. We only sell to owner occupiers.
Right.
People are going to live in their houses themselves. So, and I got into that because, I grew up down the road in Salford, and I studied in Manchester at Man Met Uni, and I studied law, wanted to be a lawyer.
What kind of law did you study?
Well, you study all of law.
Conveyancing law.
That's part of it, yeah. You have to study everything, and then you got to study it all, sadly, and you rotate around. And I did it because I thought that's a great way to make a lot of money, and then if I can make a lot of money, then I can be independent. Yeah. And that was always my big push, is I want to be independent. I don't want to have to answer to anybody. Yeah. Which you feel like you have to when you're at school, in high school, and college and everything else like that. So that was my thought process, but that was a bad idea because I was not a very good lawyer.
Really? Why?
I think as a lawyer, you got to follow the rules. That's the game. You follow the rules, you follow the precedent of what's gone before. Yeah. And previous law exists by whatever law's been made in the past through case law. Whereas I'm not that conventional. I consider myself more on the creative spectrum. So I like to break the rules somehow and break that. Not follow the rules, and that's not good if you're a lawyer because that ends up in jail. Yeah. So, I didn't want to do that. And then I was always interested in. I've always liked that process of taking something and restoring it and improving it and adding value to it and seeing something that other people don't see and taking. Some pride in creating something that's been unloved or unwanted. Like when I was at uni, some of my mates were studying art. Yeah. I used to buy their artwork off them, their samples or their test work, and I'd frame it really nice and make it look great, and I'd sell it. I used to sell it online on eBay when eBay was in its right.
So you buy off them for a £5 and it's like 500 quid online.
Kind of, exactly. And so I kind of do that now if you think about it. I'm upcycling stuff now. Yeah. I did it for a bit with cars actually. So in Trafford Park, I used to go to the car auctions, buy a beat up old banger and restore it, make it beautiful again, and then sell it. And then I decided, you know what, I could probably do that with a house. Bought a derelict family home in Salford, had been derelict for a decade or more, and I turned it into a really nice family home and sold it. So it's just a kind of an upcycling process, recycling. Yeah. And I think that's...
Would you say you're upcycling the city centre?
Yeah, in parts. Yeah, a little bit of it, definitely. Upcycling the city centre. I mean, we call it regeneration, but I don't know. Yeah, but upcycling's a much...
What is regeneration? Because there's loads of different ways of describing regeneration. What would be your...
I think the difference with regeneration versus kind of property development. Property development is kind of serving an existing demand. So that's your standard, there is a demand for our product, be it a food store or a housing estate or a hotel, and you build it. Yeah. Regeneration is about creating demand that doesn't exist. It's about finding a way of generating that demand by using a whole variety of different things to motivate people to want to work in a location where they wouldn't have done previously, or live in a location where they wouldn't have done previously, and that's that community building part of it, and that's that place making, that branding. It's about doing a whole host of different things really, which all of a sudden makes a place desirable that before then, wouldn't have been desirable. In fact, quite the opposite.
Manchester has had a huge regeneration process behind it over the past 20 years.
Yeah.
It's unrecognisable now, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you think about from early 2000s to now.
Yeah, it's the pace of change is I think it's phenomenal. It's just grown and it's snowballed. So it's the pace of growth now is probably greater than it's ever been in the past as well. So
even like the Green Quarter, I was just trying because where our first office was in the studio was in the Green Quarter, in Newmount Street.
Of course, yeah.
23 Newmount Street.
Yeah, we
were there, and like now, it doesn't. I mean, you got the Angel Pub on the corner.
Yeah.
It just looks completely different.
Yeah, see, at one time that would have been a bit far out, but now it feels right in the centre. Exactly.
It used to feel far out when I'm talking 2014, 2015, something 5 years ago.
It's not long, is it?
It's not long. When I was literally driving past there, literally finished filming here yesterday, and I was driving back to drop my friend at the other studio, and I said, wow, look at this place. It doesn't even look the same. If you took the Angel Pub out of it, it would look like a completely different area.
Yeah.
The only relic of old Manchester is that rundown little pub on the corner.
Yeah, which I really like that sort of thing as well.
I like that pub.
And I think that's part of it.
You used to have a good beer garden, but it doesn't get in the sun anymore.
No, and that's why you've got to be. If you build nice big buildings around it, and you've blocked out all the sun, then that's no good either, is it? So, but I think for me as well, the important thing is obviously because I grew up around here, my mates are here, my family here. Then I feel like an increased sense of responsibility to make sure that I don't do that, block off the beer garden sunlight, because otherwise
priorities, isn't that?
They'll never let me live it down.
Yeah.
And I think that helps, to have that additional kind of like higher kind of bar to in terms of quality and in terms of placemaking, in terms of like looking after the city as well.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, it is phenomenal. The change and the growth and the improvement that have occurred is mega.
What would you say the difference is? I mean, this is something I do semi-struggle with this, if I'm honest. Like, I'm sure you can enlighten me a little bit more. But what would you say the difference between regeneration and gentrification is?
I struggle with it too, because often, often we'll go into a location that there isn't that demand for it, and house prices can be low, and there can be derelict buildings there. And actually and the aspiration is to, can we make this place a brilliant place to be again? Can we make it desirable again? And so we'll turn up and we'll do things like we'll create great green spaces, beautiful looking buildings, a cafe bar, a deli, co-working spaces, perhaps some homes, maybe some townhouses, maybe some apartments, and great, lovely trees, roof terraces. But actually, all of a sudden, then that attracts a new resident to the area.
Because they're going up for 300 grand.
Yeah, that's it.
Grand, so 500 grand, whatever it may be.
Exactly. And Greater Manchester's a brilliant example of that, where you've got some suburbs where everybody kind of wants to be. They move to Manchester from all over, not just the UK, but Europe. Yeah. They study here, they get a well-paid job, and then they go to the suburbs. And a lot of them go to Charlton or Didsbury or Altrincham, and they've become such hot spots that physically, you can't physically get any more property or people into those locations. And there's a great opportunity, therefore, for places like Bury and Oldham and Rochdale and Stockport and so on to benefit from that.
And as the overspill.
And you can actually see the city centre, grow in height and density.
And expanding out.
Absolutely. And at some point, that kind of like that, it's acting as a dam really of people. At some point they've started to now shift, and they're now moving into family mode, or they're going to get a partner, or they might get a pet, or they might have kids, and they want to get a bit more space and access to parks and early years education. And so they've got the suburbs, and so there's a great opportunity then in the suburbs for these places to be regenerated. Like places like Rochdale Town Centre, great example where actually it's suffered from decline over the past 20 years, while Manchester's been suffering from growth, has been enjoying the growth in the past 20 years. Well, actually now we can reverse that in Rochdale, but we're going to build houses there. But you're right, those houses will end up attracting people who might have gone to Charlton or Didsbury, but they come to Rochdale because they've got no preconception about what Rochdale's like. Now, we grew up in Greater Manchester, so we have a preconception to its detriment almost, whereby we think, Rochdale, the town centre's not that nice. Well, actually, it's amazing now because it's improved massively. They've spent a lot of money and invested a lot of money in Rochdale, and so same in Stockport's a great example again. And so, but the people that have moved here from Belgium or Berlin or Birmingham don't know what Stockport Town Centre's like or Rochdale Town Centre's like, and they get off the tram, and if it looks amazing, and it's got everything they need. They move there.
they're looking
But
to buy, yeah.
that does mean, of course, that all of a sudden the house prices in that area start going up a lot, and you quickly shift.
The people who were born and raised in the area can then no longer afford to continue to live there.
That's it. If they don't, if affordable homes aren't created at the same time, and if opportunities for for their own economic improvement don't exist.
Is there a desire for affordable? I mean, there probably is a desire, but is affordable housing in these new hotspot areas being implemented?
I think at the minute, probably not, because the focus is actually on the region, is getting it up off its knees. Because if you said, well, let's make sure...
Because there's no affordable housing in Didsbury.
No, there isn't. Oh, absolutely not, no.
And there's none in Chorlton.
Yeah.
Withington is next.
Yeah.
Withington's already getting more expensive.
Yeah, it's just
If
moving
you look
along.
at like the old Moat Lane estate, all of the right to buy is really kicking in. So a lot of these people are buying up those houses. So all the estates, the old council estates, they're going to eventually all be private.
Yeah.
In which case, no one's going to be able to afford to live in them, because they're then going to increase in price with the surrounding properties.
Yeah. Yeah.
So then where do those people go?
And that's it. And the problem is, and should the people who have lived there for all that time
have the right to remain in there?
Yeah, is it fair to prevent them from enjoying the uplifting value from their property, I suppose, as well? That's the other challenge, because that's what's happening really, is that the families that have lived there for so long, all of a sudden their property's worth a lot more, and who can blame them from wanting to sell it for a lot more, because that's you get that too. And so, but yeah, that is a challenge. So,
but in again, that's kind of a benefit as well, because that's then giving huge sort of cash injections to families who may not have otherwise had the opportunity to get that.
That's right, but it's the next generation on from them actually. So what happens to that next generation who might not be able to afford to grow up in the area? And whilst it's an opportunity in some ways, because that means that they can then move to the next place along to help that regenerate and improve and grow. It's.
Are we kind of in a sort of limbo where we're sort of mixing between the sort of past and what the new future may look like? So in the past, you would have how a city like Manchester, an old industrial city, was set up with your big factories in the city centre or very close to the city centre.
Yeah.
With your workers' houses in close by areas such as Hume, Ardwick, Gorton, Beswick, etc., etc. That would be where all the workers would live.
Yeah.
Now these areas are becoming hotspots, as we'd say. Property prices are increasing massively. The people who live there may no longer be able to afford to live there, so therefore they move further out. But if you move further out from there, you're in Didsbury, you can't live there.
Yeah.
Cheadle, Gatley, that's the next way up. You can't live there. So
yeah,
it's almost like we're taking what was the old inner city, we're picking it up and we're putting it out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And then what was the old suburbs, like your Didsbury's, Cheadles, etc., they're becoming more localised to the city centre. And it's almost like we're having this reverse effect of how a city was constructed. It's now going from what was the inside out to the outside in.
Yeah, because we know you used to have that city core, and then you'd have what was referred to as like a donut of deprivation around the city core. That's kind of started to be consumed by the city core almost. That deprivation has almost gone.
And it's
changed.
a pattern all over the world, like in New York, London, all over the world. We're seeing this same sort of pattern happening, and now obviously it's happening here.
I think the growth and the regeneration and the gentrification, it might not be a bad thing as long as the provision of new homes is keeping pace.
Exactly.
And that those homes are affordable.
Yeah.
Because it's a great opportunity for Greater Manchester. For so long it's suffered and from decline, and all of a sudden it's continued to have this renaissance over 20 years. And but definitely that challenge, which was documented heavily on Manctopia, around the haves and the have-nots, the people who are benefiting from the property boom versus the people that aren't, and are suffering from it. And there's two major issues. We're not building enough homes, simple as that. And
the population's increasing here.
Yeah, absolutely, which is great. I mean, and because we're attracting people from all over the UK and Europe,
and you're more likely to get a job here than you are almost anywhere else in England.
Yeah, and then it's almost counter-cyclical that when there's a recession, more people move into the city centre, because that's more likely going to be the places where you're going to get that job. So no matter what's going on in the UK, it seems like the place people want to be is this big city, Greater Manchester.
I think it was. I think it might have been Sasha or Andy who was saying that Manchester is the most thriving economy in Western Europe.
Yeah.
which I think is incredible.
Because it hits so many different things on people's need list or want list. And I know that because I speak to the people who've bought, you know, our developments in the city centre, those apartments. I go and ask them what on earth has brought you on a journey, they're there from Greece and Spain and Italy and other parts of the UK and Europe as well. And often they say things which is really insightful that we don't necessarily, we take it for granted that we've got an LGBT friendly city.
Yeah.
We've got a great business ecosystem.
Yeah.
We've got great higher education here in our city, and great early years education as well. We've got access to brilliant parks and green space as well that exists throughout Greater Manchester. Great public transport network that's improving, obviously, and getting better. We've got relatively affordable homes in terms of, you know, when you compare it to some of the cities in the south, say.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a hell of a lot cheaper here.
Yeah, and then you've got great culture, nightlife, art scene, you know, great restaurants and bars, cafes and clubs, and it's all those different things that you know, we got that create, you know, politically stable, you know, equal rights are strong in it, and we take it for granted because that's how what we've grown up with almost, but actually that doesn't exist across all.
We do live in a bubble here.
Yeah. Absolutely, and we the advantage that we get is that people won't move here in their droves. Yeah. But then that puts pressure on property prices, and means that there's a bit of there's a squeeze, and often it's the people who are most disadvantaged that get squeezed out, and so, you know,
it's just the way of capitalism, though, isn't it? And I think that, which is part of the problem with the UK at the minute, is that capitalism needs the safety net of socialism, and we're not really getting the balance that I think we need at the moment. But I think that's become more apparent. So once it's I think everyone's aware that there's an imbalance now, and I think now that it's becoming sort of almost common knowledge that there is an imbalance in the UK, I think a balance will happen. And I think having open conversations like this, where someone like yourself is saying, look, there needs to be more affordable housing for people. I think again that creates that shift as well. Because it's coming from the top down and the bottom up. So I think eventually it all kind of meets in the middle.
Because any private business that says, oh well, we don't need intervention from the public sector. Well, if that hasn't been proved wrong as a result of the past, you know, the global pandemic. I mean, so as smart as the private business thinks that we are, when the chips are down and there's a real problem, we've needed the government to bail us out. Simple as that. And it's the same in every market that exists. You know, and the housing market being one of it. And so it does need an intervention from the public sector to go, well, okay, capitalism, you've done great, thank you very much now, but we do need to just interfere here just to make sure things don't go ridiculous. And so that's, you know, and it's the same in the housing sector too. We need central government to step up and say, right, well, what do we do about creating affordable homes, and what do we do about making sure that there's opportunity for everybody to live in that city despite it growing so fast.
Can you see Manchester joining London in its in the pricing of properties? I mean, you can get there's flats in London for £1 million, 1-bedroom flats, and they're not great.
I know. I know, and that's actually forcing people out of the city. It's great for Manchester because people are choosing, well, I'll go and live in Manchester because it's got the great, all that great stuff that you get.
Same like in Brooklyn, like you can get £2 million and like you're looking at a shithole.
I can't, and it's
$2 million, whatever it is, and it's
you can't imagine it getting any cheaper in Manchester. Put it that way, and actually, you know, but so a lot of people that buy
it's a buyer's market now here in Manchester, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and I think that. You know, people move here because it's great value compared to London, but it's still very expensive. You know, a 1-bedroom apartments now in Manchester city centre, ours, even I think, crikey, you know, ours are at least £200,000. And I remember very recently that would have got you a really big 2-bedroom home. And the 2-bedroom houses are now kind of 350,000, 400,000.
What sort of percentage a year is property growing in Manchester, would you say?
I think on average it's probably done 3 to 5% a year. It's
Really?
a lot, you know. It's a year on year. It's exponential, that growth, and now we're starting to see it in the suburbs. So it's mind-boggling actually, and not just apartments, but obviously the rate of construction that we built and currently under development of hotels as well, cafe bars, restaurants, workspaces, offices, and so, you know, and I think it was around the time that the Manctopia documentary was out, I said on that documentary, it's like an unstoppable train. And actually at the time that could have seemed like a naive and hubris kind of comment to make. But actually, you've seen Manchester's bounce back already.
Yeah.
You're seeing it getting busy again. The offices are getting busy again.
Yeah,
People are moving back into the city again. And actually, that looks like it's going to be true. That momentum that it's had is going to continue to push it along, it seems.
I feel like Manchester's a sort of place, though, that would... The spirit and the culture of Manchester, I can't ever imagine it being allowed. Like, it would never allow itself to stay in that sort of negative, restrained position. It's always going to bounce back. It was always going to come back thriving. But it is amazing to see. It's almost like, I think very quickly we'll see it will be forgotten, this pandemic here.
Yeah. Because I think...
And the economy's thriving.
Yeah, I think it's kind of almost in our... It's in the generations that have gone before that triumph over adversity. A post-industrial city that needed to fight its way back. It's kind of like it's in the DNA of the city to kind of overcome and to demand better and to help each other along as well, lead the ladder down for the next people. So I think all that makes a big difference to a city.
How do you see the future going here in Manchester?
In the city, crikey, it's looking. It looks bright. It looks. I think the engine house of Manchester's always been its higher education organisations in here. I think that's brilliant, and they're increasingly switching their attention to a more disadvantaged and diverse cohort of students that they want to get into the university. So to make sure that the next generations of graduates that come out of the city are resilient and diverse, to avoid groupthink and to avoid us having a monoculture. That's really exciting evolution of our city, I think, in terms of the graduates that we'll attract and the graduates we'll create, because that is attracting great employers to the city, and it's creating.
It's bringing more business, isn't it?
It is, yeah, and
more opportunity.
Yeah, Manchester gets that really well, and that partnership between business and higher education, and partnership between the higher education and the public sector is a really compelling proposition.
So what was it like doing the Manctopia documentary? That one was out in September?
Yeah, it came out in September, and we were filming it for the 2 years before it as well.
Right. Was it 2 years you were filming that?
20 months, yeah.
So how long were you filming every day?
It was on and off sometimes. It depended. And it grew over time. I think that when they first set out on the journey, they didn't anticipate quite the scale of the topic. So I think initially it was set for 6 months of filming.
Right.
And I think that what's happened though, as he got into it and he learned about some of the characters and some of the stories and some of the conflicts that existed, that I think it just expanded the brief and the role.
Right.
So what was great is that the BBC that commissioned the production company to do it said to them, actually keep going, go and get some more content, go and investigate that further, go and speak to those people more, and really expand it. And what was particularly for me, what was rewarding is that they ask questions that mean that you have to reflect on yourself a little bit. and
so it was like therapy.
It was totally, It was like thinking about that. You have to think like, why do you do what you do, and are you doing the right thing, and what would you do differently? And some of the things that we did, I don't know if they showed all this, but we'd go back to places that we started. So they went back to my hometown in Eccles in Salford. And we walked the streets of that, and then we went and visited the first property that I bought, and some of that I'd not been for 20 years. And so that was a really nice journey to go on, and a privilege to have people film that for you almost, and ask questions about that journey that you went on. And I think what they were doing amongst all the different characters that exist in that documentary is that they were trying to show how people from Manchester think and what makes it the city feel so different from other cities.
What would you say has motivated you to because you've done a lot?
Been busy.
Been very busy. What has made you want to push this so far?
I think, there are different things that we've been busy with. So there's the property side of it is one thing, and that's kind of the business bit of it. But there's a big motivator there to want to restore conservation buildings and preserve those, because they fascinate me and they interest me. And there's a legacy thing for sure. There's definitely like a big-headed element of me, which means that I like the idea that when I'm not here anymore, that generations after me can go, I think my great granddad was involved in that development somewhere, that building somewhere. So that's definitely part of it. And it feels like that creative bit in me, you can put a building somewhere that is, art can be optional because you don't have to look at art if you don't want to, but you kind of have to look at our built environment. It kind of exists, and so there's an ability to put buildings and sculptures and big things in places that will be there forever. So there's a bit of that as a motivation, and I'm wanting to. I like to feel like I'm part of the city, in some way, linked to it, or a part of the city's kind of story. I like that. I like that feeling. Like I feel like I'm home when I'm in Manchester, and that's a great feeling because it's nice to be closely associated with such a great thing. And then the stuff on the social side and the things that we've done with homelessness as well is knowing that. I suppose is wanting to make sure that my friends and family and so on are proud of what I do as well. So my mum and dad, they both worked in care, and so as a result, when you sat around the dining table, you hear about what's going on in their day, and you realise that there's lots of deprivation and disadvantage in our city.
The homeless have really took a bit of a. It's been tough, the pandemic for the homeless, hasn't it?
Yeah, massively. And I think that certainly what I learned growing up as a kid is that it doesn't take much for any of us to have a couple of turns in life that means that you could end up sleeping rough or homeless.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, and even I remember as a kid actually that I remember when my dad lost his job. That I had to go and get you got a dinner ticket to go to school. To get a free dinner, at school, and we had to wait in line, and we were last in the queue to go in to get our free school dinner. And I remember in that queue of people that I was in,
that were left in the tray.
Yeah, totally. They got the worst bits and everything. And I remember looking up and down that queue, and there were people in that queue who were literally they weren't even going home to the mum and dad. They were in care, and that was their only hot meal of the day. So I was lucky, and so it's. And that never leaves you, actually. The people, the faces, the people, the names of the people that were in that queue with me are, you never forget and remember those. And you think, and they are probably very likely candidates at the time to have ended up potentially homeless. And so, and then because you can do something about it, you feel like a responsibility to do something about it.
Do you feel a responsibility?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. And I was asked about that on the documentary, and I can't remember what I said. They asked me that loads of times, actually. And I suppose my answer varied depending upon what mood I was in a bit, but. I think, and because I think one of the things I said was, partly I do it out of guilt, I think they use that, and I got a bit of criticism.
Do you feel guilty for becoming successful?
Probably is a bit of me that does, yeah. That is. It feels a bit like, I'm
coming from dinner tickets to now being.
Yeah, probably.
Where you are now.
Yeah, I feel like I'm in a privileged position, and there's a bit of guilt about it and you feel like I did get slagged off on social media for that comment a bit.
Why?
For saying.
Do you feel guilty?
Yeah, because I'm not doing it because it's the right thing to do. Apparently, that was the criticism.
You can't be. I thought that was a nice thing to say.
No, apparently I got a bit of criticism for it. Like, what you're doing it because you feel bad. You do it to make yourself feel better. Essentially,
it'd be worse if you didn't feel bad.
That's what I thought. That's what I think.
That's
what I think. Yeah, I thought. Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Like, you didn't give a shit.
I didn't care. Yeah,
I'm rich. Fuck you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Exactly. I thought. So yeah. So but that was. But and I've been honest as well. That's the truth of the matter is I do it because I feel better about myself for helping.
It's weird. To do charitable acts, even though we do them for the right reasons, we essentially do them to make ourselves feel better.
Yeah, and you've got to be honest about that, I think. And again, I think I got a bit of stick for saying that, but it's just.
But it's the truth, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
No one does something completely for someone else. They do something for someone else because ultimately how it makes them feel doing it.
Yeah, and if people get a good feeling out of helping other people, and that's a good thing. Yeah,
it means you're at least a half decent person, right?
I think absolutely, yeah, dead right. And I think that I probably put extra pressure on myself because I feel like I can do something about it.
Yeah,
because I can create, I can take some space and I can create some homes there, and I can make them available for people from that are homeless or sleeping rough.
Yeah.
And so I think that's part of the problem is that I am aware of that I have an ability to influence other people to help or to help me or to give money or I can gather a lot of people together in a space as well that have got the expertise to enable us to do a project, and that's something that we're doing at the minute in Castlefield. And so because I can help and I know that I have the ability to, I do feel an obligation to do it and a pressure to do it and a responsibility really.
At what point in this journey of becoming a property tycoon, did you? That sounds awful, that doesn't it?
I like that, Tycoon.
Property tycoon. Like, well, at what point on this journey of becoming? I kind of said property tycoon for a dramatic effect, then, by the way. But like,
No, I like it.
Would you say that you started feeling like, oh shit, I better start giving back here?
I suppose we've always had that. I think from the very start, like literally from the first derelict house I took on, and turned into and I turned it into a family home. I think that was like, you know, I needed that kick of getting a good feeling about doing a good thing. So yes, I probably could have made more money if I turned it into bed sits and rented it out, sort of thing. But actually, I realised fairly early on that I wanted to get a good feeling from the work I did and have a sense of pride. And actually, I also thought if I do a good thing, then I'll get the chance to do more. Yeah. And that's got to be great, hasn't it? That's a good way to grow a business, actually. Yeah. And I think that the next generation that comes through, and in fact, a lot of people that work in our workspaces or live in our homes that we create, generationally, they have a choice, and they understand that they have a choice about who they spend their money with. And I think that they prefer to spend that money with us more socially conscious business, and be it a property company or be it where they buy their mobile phone from or their trainers from. So we're seeing that shift actually, and that I hope is going to be the future for many more businesses actually, is that socially conscious businesses will grow, and those that aren't and don't care about the environment or they don't care about the effect that they have on society will disappear.
I think it's interesting that you say that you could have turned it into loads of bed sits and made loads more money, but you chose not to. I feel like it's those kind of decisions, like it's kind of a spiritual thing to say, but I kind of feel that when you make those kind of decisions, you're putting that energy out there that can only bring you back more positivity. Yeah. And and I think you're right. I think what if more businesses start making sort of social, impactful decisions, it can only be more rewarding for them.
Yeah, it's good business as well.
It's good business. Yeah.
I don't sit here saying I'm holier than thou either. I'm saying it's a good business model, isn't it? But it's a great in that it can have different advantages for it can help everyone as a result, and you can and it's demonstration proof of the fact that you can grow a business. We spend £2 million a week now on average every week in, week out, £2 million a week on development and regeneration. So. And
that's a hell of a cash flow to manage.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, thankfully, there's smarter people in the office than me that are looking after the numbers. Yeah. And so, it's going to a beast, but that's by doing the right thing. And I think Manchester is actually a city that will help people who want to do good stuff, and will help support people and businesses that want to do good stuff as well. So that's another big thing I'd say. Is
it's got a good business community, hasn't it?
Yes, and I'm massively grateful for that business community, and actually that concept of leave the ladder down as well is something that is really important to me. So I'm always trying to make sure that we are commissioning smaller organisations and younger organisations than us to work on our projects for us, because they, and we'd expect them to do the same as well. Because I was massively helped by the business community to get to get to where we are as a business.
Yeah. What are you spending £2 million a week on?
I suppose it's buying land and buildings and restoring them, converting them, and building new ones. And creating new spaces. And we've averaged that for the past 3 years now in terms of 2 million. It used to be $1 million. I remember it was $1 million a week on average 2 or 3 years ago.
That's 70 million quid over the past.
Oh yeah, I mean, so we're doing 100 million a year, basically turnover 100 million a year. Wow. I mean, but some of our projects are big, like Campus, which is next to the Gay Village. Yeah. The gross development value of that is £250 million. That's nearly finished, actually, construction. Wow. So you soon get up there with property. The numbers soon end up being big. And how many other property companies are doing this in Manchester?
And there's a few.
There's a few. There's a good few. There's a good 3 or 4 that are at that scale, I'd say, in terms of growth and.
So this skyline in Manchester is going to completely transform over time, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it already has.
I mean, I keep wondering if it will slow down or stop, but there's no signs of it. I mean, I keep thinking, surely we built so many homes and apartments.
Can you see skyscrapers being in Hume and like?
Yeah, I mean, they're right there. They're on the edge of it now, aren't they? With Deansgate Square, you're just a stone's throw from Hume to. So, and I think it's great to see that variety of different types of buildings and architecture. As long as it's balanced and as long as it's inclusive, and I think that's the next big agenda for the city, is how you ensure that everybody gets to benefit from it. Yeah, I've got to benefit from it. You know, personally, great for me. Yeah, I got stuck in and was involved in that growth. But actually, I can understand how does the next kid out of Salford look up at the skyscrapers in the city in the distance and think that they can be a beneficiary of that. They can be, but we need to make sure that we are doing our best. So that's why we started that program, Regeneration Brainery. You know, which is we take diverse and disadvantaged young adults. And bring them into the built environment sector and show them and inspire them as to what they can do as in the career in the built environment in property development. We started that in 2017 as a non-profit, and we now work with 100 adults, young adults every year throughout the UK. Really? It's grown out of Manchester to Birmingham, we're in Bristol, London.
So it's all over the UK now, that?
Yeah, we scaled it across the UK.
Wow.
It's grown arms and legs, and now we're now supported by Lloyds Bank and Homes England, which is the government agency for homes, now support that growth of that community interest company. And so it's that sort of thinking, I think, is fairly uniquely Manchester, which is okay. Well, how do we create some platform for the next generation? Because the city's growth is a great it's creating great social mobility for the next generation of people coming in. There's going to be great job opportunities in green energy, or in green construction, in some of the biggest businesses are taking up space in Greater Manchester because of well-educated, well-trained people that can work here, and therefore they can access that growth, but we need to help them on that way and open up our black book for them, if you like.
What other cities in the UK are seeing this kind of growth? Is it just Manchester?
No, I think we're probably seeing it in other cities, probably not on the same scale as Manchester, but I certainly think that you're seeing it in Leeds, I'd say.
Leeds has changed.
That's got a big growth. Sheffield is growing a lot. And actually, it's higher education, I think, that's driving a lot of it, which is great. So that's
bringing
really good.
The people there, which is bringing the businesses.
Yeah, so it's starting there. So any city that gets uni first is great. And we're doing this. We're building these big film and TV studios in Liverpool.
Yeah, I heard about that. So what's that?
It's going to be. We've got Twickenham Film Studios coming up from Twickenham to
No way, they're from Twickenham.
From Twickenham, yeah. I think they're the oldest film and TV studios. Great name in it. How did they come up with that?
So Twickenham Film Studios is moving to Liverpool.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, exactly. I know. I don't think they're changing the name either.
Are they not?
No, I think they're changing the name. No. Oldest film studios in the world, they think. And
really?
Yeah. If you look at what they've made, it's like
Charlie Chaplin and stuff like that.
Yeah, mega. It's all that stuff. It's unbelievable. Right the way through to they've done a load of Beatles videos. Right the way through to just the amount of content of films like classics that they did and have done. So that's dead exciting. Yeah. And that's about preventing.
So what is that going to be, like a new media city there?
Yeah, of a sort. I mean, it's based around film and television content production, but it's to stop that brain drain from Liverpool city region back out to London, essentially, a lot of it. So it's keeping that to Manchester. Because what was happening was exactly that. They were filming stuff in Liverpool because of its great shorelines or great listed buildings, and they're clearing off back down to post-production, back out to London, say. Yeah. And actually what you need to do is keep that spend and keep that talent and that resource in the city. And so what we've done is
it's great for Manchester as well. That
it is more in the north.
On the doorstep,
exactly, more in the north, and we're co-locating Liverpool John Moores University alongside the film studios, and that's a huge campus that's going to share knowledge and resources and skills and equipment and so on, and so that when you've graduated from that university, you've actually worked on proper films and television stuff. Wow! So that's the future of cities.
Yeah. And when's that going to be kicking off?
Hopefully, the first 2 studios are currently under construction next door to our site, and then it's a conversion of the buildings and 2 new sound stages will hopefully start later this year.
So, with you doing all this different stuff, what do you wake up in the morning and do? Like, where do you start with all this?
I mean, I wake up. Well, I've got 4 kids and a dog as well. So I wake up in the morning properly early.
Peppa Pig.
I normally get exactly. I normally get one of the kids like smacking me over the head with a toy to wake me up or something like that. And then where do I and so I mean, I like stuff that challenges me and that's difficult and that's and I definitely like to be. I suppose there must be an element of me that likes to be like almost worried about what
anxiety.
I must get.
I've got no anxiety today. Start a new build.
Let's do something else. Must be. So if everything's going well, I get anxious. I think that's weird. No, that's strange.
Well, I think I'm a bit similar in that sense. I always have to have like a new project or I have to constantly be going forward in something. If I ever feel like I'm static, I start getting anxiety, and I've always had anxiety anyway. But it's sort of like it's like a trigger for it.
Yeah.
So it's almost like they say that, you know, that you fight off mental health by keeping busy and going to the gym.
Yeah.
And not fight off mental health. You fight off mental health issues, etc., by keeping busy and going to. And I think that's definitely true. That if I'm static, that pandemic, lockdown 1, when I literally stayed at home for 3 months in lockdown 1.
Yeah.
No gym. Apart from weather wasn't too bad, so you could crack on outside.
Yeah.
But
that was good.
Generally speaking, I mean, that was like the most anxious I've ever been in my life, because like the whole world had stopped.
That's right. Yeah, I did a lot of. I'd walk a lot. I'd go and find the nearest fields and walk for ages and hours and hours and hours. Yeah. And my walks kept getting longer and longer. Which was great to discover it. But I'm definitely not the kind of like smash it business person, gets up at the crack of dawn and absolutely has it all together. I am not that. I'm like, oh, flipping heck.
What am I doing?
I'm late already. Exactly.
Running out of the house with a brew.
Totally. That's me, like disorganized and just, So I'm not. I read. You know, some people. You're reading publications. People's diary. You know, they did the diary about how they're smashing it with international calls and they're up at 5 a.m. and they're
5 a.m. in the gym. No, 5:15.
That's not me. I like to like go get
smoothie at 6:30.
Not me at all. Not at all. Cup of tea and then let's take the dog for a walk and let's pour the kids bowls of cornflakes and then let's think about what I might want to do that day. I think I need that headspace to like be able to think about ideas creatively for sure.
I'm a bit similar. I'm not like I always like fantasize of being like some Harvey Specter kind of guy, like 5 a.m. in the gym. But I could never go gym at 5 a.m.
No.
The earliest I can go to the gym is 9, and even then I'm like, nah, I'd rather go.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. It's not my thing at all.
I'm not a morning person, to be honest.
I never understand people that can do that. That can have that such structure in their life. I'm not a fan of that. I like to just like roll with the punches a little bit and see how it goes and see how I feel.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, makes it more interesting, I think.
I don't like routine either. I don't like too much routine.
No.
I like every day to be a little bit different.
Definitely. Yeah, that's it. And of course, I've got the advantage now that as you grow you grow your team around you and stuff like that, and you can put very diligent and very super intelligent people as well alongside that can
and stuff that you're not the best at.
They can bring a bit of order to my chaos. But it's a good mix, of course, as well. You know, I own the business with Adam Higgins, my business partner, and he's brilliantly organised, brilliantly diligent and detailed kind of guy. And you need that, that variety.
And you're the creative, chaotic.
A bit more, a bit more ideas and new things, because I quickly get bored of old things. That's kind of what moves us forward as a business as well.
I think that's what you need. You need balance, though, don't you? You need someone who can push the pen and make sure everything's done properly, in order, professionally. They need someone to come up with all the crazy ideas, and that person then to actually put into some kind of order.
That's it, and that's the fun stuff. I like the weird, I like the weird stuff as well, like events, and we like to put on street art events or live music gigs or concerts or whatever, and we try and do it off to raise funds as well. So it's got a meaningful and purpose to it. But that's also a big bit of the placemaking. It's like, let's take a derelict car park and then let's get some great DJ sets on the go. Let's get some street artists on the go. Let's get some street food. And let's invite people along to it and let them reimagine how a place could be. But it's good fun to have a party as well, and you raise funds as well. So it's brilliant. It works well.
Brilliant. Tim, thank you so much for today. It's been
Thanks
brilliant.
for having me.